Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Just a reminder, we got Share-a-thon coming up October 22 through 24. We need and love to have volunteers to help us man the phones during Share-a-thon. Very simple procedure. It's all been computerized. It's very, very simple to lead somebody through the steps of collecting the information and receiving their donations. Enormous help. We cannot do it. We cannot do it without the help of volunteers. There's just too many calls coming in. Too many people want to help out. Too many people want to donate to keep this voice on the air. We just cannot do it without the help of volunteers. So we need you. And we have no hesitation in saying, so we need you. We cannot get this done without your help as a volunteer. October 22 to 24, it's Tuesday to Thursday. We got volunteers coming from places like Kansas and Texas, all over the fruited plain to help us with this. We invite you to come and be a phone volunteer. You can pick the shift or shifts that are the most convenient for you. You can get to know other volunteers who help out, get to know some of the staff here at AFA. I love the opportunity to just kind of mingle with the volunteers in the Share-a-thon room and Share-a-thon Central, get a chance to meet them and greet them, get to know a little bit about them. So call Deanna, the number to call if you'd like to be a volunteer for us this year, 800-326-4543, 800-326-4543. That's extension 204. And Deanna will be glad to help you get set up with a shift. You can also go to afr.net. Again, call Deanna, 800-326-4543, extension 204. And if you want to join the program, we're going to talk about the shooting at the Naval Yard. Give us a call at 888-589-8840. Now, remember, one of the memes that the left just relentlessly hammers is that the threat to our security comes from right-wing Christians, right-wing whack job, nut job Christians, Tea Partiers. They represent the domestic threat. We've had the AFA singled out in presentations that have been made to law enforcement, have been made up in Kentucky, been made to law enforcement in Louisiana, that identify the American Family Association as a domestic hate group, a terror group, a group we got to watch for. We've had presentations made at Fort Campbell in Kentucky identifying the American Family Association as a domestic hate group that's got to be watched because we're the ones that they've got to be afraid of. Now, and they were desperate for this shooter at the Naval Shipyard yesterday, absolutely desperate for this guy to be a Tea Partier. They wanted him to be a Tea Partier, a conservative who went crazy. Well, it turns out, according to his good friend, Jake Tapper did the interview, his good friend, Michael Ritrovato, listen to what this guy was. He was the farthest thing from a conservative Christian, a right-winger, a Tea Partier that you could imagine. Let's listen. Jake Tapper talking to the shooter. His name is Aaron Alexis, talking to his good friend.
Millions of Americans obviously play violent video games without any effect. Was there any strain of violence that you ever saw with him relating to the video games or just in day-to-day life?
No, just that it surprised me that a long time ago, probably a year or so ago, when I was invited to his house to watch a football game, he spent more time in there watching, playing the game online with some other individual, which was a pretty bloody game of shooting. He spent more time doing that than entertaining his guests. And I commented to Aaron on that, wow, man, you're in your 30s, dude, you need to let that stuff go. And like I said, I would comment, I would say things like, you're a brother of another mother. And he would say things like, yeah, you're my Italian buddy, a mafia guy from New York. So we had things we joked about. Aaron wasn't conservative like I am. He was more of a liberal type. He wasn't happy with the former administration. He was more happy with this administration as far as presidential administration. So
in other words, this is as far away from the right-wing Tea Party conservative Christian nut job explanation. Must have been enormously frustrating to the left. This guy was a liberal, and he was an Obama supporter. So that conservative Tea Party meme got blown completely out of the tub. Now, President Obama, clip 7, talking about this, and this is simply a misstatement of fact. And I'll come back after the soundbite. We've talked about the background checks this guy had to go through before. What President Obama is saying here is absolute bilge. It's total nonsense.
overwhelming majority of the American people understand that there's some common sense gun safety laws that we can put in place that could prevent some of this tragedy from happening. It's not going to prevent all violence. It's not going to prevent all gun violence. But initial reports indicate that this is an individual who may have had some mental health problems. The fact that we do not have a firm enough background check system is something that makes us more vulnerable to these kinds of mass shootings.
So President Obama is saying, hey, background check would have taken care of this guy. Better background checks might have caught this guy. But the reality is this guy passed probably 4 background checks. Remember, he was in the Navy. He had a secret clearance in the Navy. That requires a background check. He bought a shotgun 2 days before the shooting. That requires a background check, and he passed it. Now, his secret clearance that he had with the Navy back in January 2013, this is according to the New York Times, January of 2013, beginning of this year, he passed a drug test and a background check and received a secret clearance from the Defense Department. Now, the Times goes on, a secret clearance does not require as extensive a background investigation as a top secret clearance, can be completed in 1 to 3 months, and is good for 10 years. I mean, that's a more extensive background check than you and I are ever going to get. I mean, we go buy a gun. Yeah, they run us through the government computers, and boom, you get an answer back in 30 seconds. You know, when I bought a gun here in Tupelo, when Debbie bought a gun, we had to clear the background check. Everybody, you buy a gun from a dealer, you got to pass a background check. Happens, boom, instantly, you walk out of the store with your gun, just like he did 2 days before the shooting. But this secret clearance, that takes 1 to 3 months to get a secret clearance. This guy had a more extensive background check than anybody in America is going to get. So when President Obama says, hey, we just need to bulk up the background checks, ain't going to happen. And we talked yesterday about this gun show loophole. Everybody's saying, hey, this is an example, got to close those gun show loopholes. 2% of the inmates that are in prison for a crime bought a gun from a private party at a gun show and took advantage of that so-called loophole. And these mass shootings get all the ink. But the number of people, the number of people that are murdered in America that are killed in mass killings, it's infinitesimal. It's 1/10 of 1%. That's the Fisher factoid of the day. 1/10 of 1% of all the people that have been murdered in America got murdered in a mass shooting. 1/10 of 1%. Here's a piece at Bloomberg.com. Mass U.S. shootings, such as the bloody rampage at the Washington Navy Yard, spur safety concerns, garner intense media attention, while statistically accounting for few of the total murders reported nationwide. In the 30 years through March, 78 public mass shootings occurred in the U.S. This would make 79. Incidents in which 4 or more people were killed at random by a gunman killing indiscriminately, according to a report issued last month by the Congressional Research Service. That's a nonpartisan research service. They work for both the Democrats and the Republicans, so it's bipartisan. These crimes are nonpartisan. These crimes don't include gang-related killings or domestic disputes where a person slays relatives or other people linked to the assailant. So this is the random stuff, the mass stuff like we had at the Naval Yard. The mass slaughters listed in the report caused the deaths of 547 people. Over the same 3 decades through 2012, that's less than 1/10 of 1% of the 559,347 people the FBI estimates were murdered in America. Number of people murdered in these mass shootings, less than 1/10 of 1%. So obviously greatly hyped and all that kind of stuff. Now here is clip number 8. This is Dr. Janice Orlowski, and she spoke at a press conference about this, and she says what I talked about at the beginning of this. She's indicating why America needs spiritual awakening. She doesn't even know that's what she's asking for here, but that's exactly what she's talking about. Let's listen.
You see what I call senseless trauma, and there is something evil in our society that we as Americans have to work to try and eradicate. I have to say, I may see this every day. I may, be the chief medical officer of a very large trauma center, but there's something wrong here when we have these multiple shootings, these multiple injuries. There's something wrong. And the only thing that I can say is we have to work together to get rid of it. I'd like you to put my trauma center out of business. I really would. It's a great city, it's a great country, and we have to work together to get rid of this, because we just cannot have, one more shooting with so many people killed. We've got to figure this out. We've got to be able to help each other. It's a challenge to all of us. Let's get rid of this.
So she's saying, look, we've got evil. The problem here is evil. It's a matter of the human heart. You're not going to fix that with another law. You're not going to fix that with a background check. If you don't allow people to be armed to protect themselves, you're not even going to fix the problem of mass shootings. This is a military installation. He should have been shot the first time he opened fire by somebody armed on the base, but thanks to Bill Clinton, it's a gun-free zone. Let's go to Cynthia, Palestine, Texas. Cynthia, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind? Got about 45 seconds.
Yeah, I was wondering, the lady about the Crohn's, her son with Crohn's disease.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if it's not implicated, Obamacare until October 1st, and then hopefully shut down to December, how is it that all these insurance companies can drop everybody when it's not even in place yet?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure what he was being told is that his insurance would lapse or would go away as of January 1. I'm guessing that's probably the deal there. A lot of insurance companies are telling their clients, look, as of January 1, you aren't going to be covered because this insurance company, it's affordable, it's got low premiums, it's got a high deductible. It doesn't cover everything. It may have a cap, a lifetime cap on how much we can pay out, but you can afford it with your income. That's illegal as of January 1. So as of January 1, we can't cover you. You're gone. You're toast. You're history. Thank you, President Obama. Focal Point and AFR Talk back in 2.